you doing, Chris? Another episode of Ask Knuckles Anything, and we're gonna start it off quick. I remember you used to post a bunch of these stories on Twitter and other social medias. Did you keep track of how many stitches you got?
Actually, I didn't. I can't. Oh, God, that's funny. I didn't keep track of them. But God, when I think of all the surgeries I've had, God.
Because you used to post those scar stories.
Yeah, I would post scar stories and stuff, Jamie, because Jamie would always say, "How'd you get a scar? How'd you get that one? How'd you get this one?" But it's definitely over 200. With my surgeries and my hand surgeries, my knee surgeries. Um, you know, I got cut around the eyes a few times. I had 25 hair on my head. So I got I got hit with a puck. I got hit with a slap shot from Guy Lafleur right here in practice, and they stitched it all inside. Instead of if you did it on the outside, what I would have that big line across my head, but they did plastic surgery on it, which was good. So I didn't look like Frankenstein. I got enough wrinkles as it is, and actually, where the scar is, it kind of hides in one of my wrinkles.
Do you remember the first stitches you ever got?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I got hit with them. You ever see them belt swings?
Yeah.
I was down the playground, and I don't know, I was like 4 years old, and there was a bigger kid there giving me a hard time, and I cracked him, and he took the swing, and he kind of swung it at me, and the metal piece that connects the belt to the chain hit me right in the eye and cut me open. I was bleeding like crazy. I remember I went home, my mother was screaming, "Oh my God," she thought I was half dead. But yeah, that was the first time I got stitches. I was 4.
Is there a rule about commenting on politics or language, or do players in the NHL just use common sense when it comes to that kind of stuff?
There's no rule. I mean, come on, there's freedom of speech, but I think that people are very wary of, especially in this political climate, uh, you know, talking about politics, because I'm sure people have a lot, strong views on it. Some people probably don't even pay attention to it. Some athletes, sometimes you're in your own little bubble, but there are people that certainly pay attention. I remember when I played Big Serge Savard, he'd been around for a while, and Serge was really into political scene in the U.S. He's a French Canadian, loved Ronald Reagan. I kept an eye on it a little bit. I love history, especially military history, but politics, I kind of stayed away from. And then as I got older, I started to pay attention a little more. Actually, in retirement more so than when I was playing.
Yeah, do you think that's because there's a lot of teams in Canada, so maybe they don't pay attention to the U.S. as much, so maybe they're not saying as much?
I think I think a lot of Canadians do pay attention to what goes on in the U.S. because a lot of that affects happens up here. Not everything, but for sure. When you look at inflation in the U.S. and it affects it up here, we do a lot of trade with Canada, all that stuff. So, yeah, interest rates go up in the States, they go up here. And they watch the U.S. dollar a lot because, again, a lot of trade, a lot of people cross the border to shop and do stuff like that. So, they pay attention to it for sure.
Do players send their kids to private schools to avoid being forced to send their kids to French school in Canada? Did any of your teammates do that, or do you know anybody on the Canadians now that does it?
Hard for me to comment on that, but I don't think so. I think people send their kids to private school here like they do in the States because some of the public schools aren't that good. There are some good ones, but not all of them. And I think for those same reasons, people in the U.S. Send their kids to private school. Pretty much the same here. I think, the whole, private school thing as opposed to public school. It's that, again, education, and you get you can get a better education at a private school for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What was
Yeah.
the lead into that question again? Sorry,
Do players send their kids to
the
private
players.
schools to avoid?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Oh, okay, the players themselves. No, you know, and I know when I had my oldest child, Colleen, I started sending her to school. I wanted to go to French school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to learn a language when you're young, it's a hell of a lot easier than when you're older. So it can only help to send your kids to French school, I believe. But I don't know as far as the players if they do or not. But and again, a lot of these guys have kids. You know, a lot of the ones that do have kids, the kids are, you know, maybe first, second grade, third grade tops, right? Because you know, you only you're
Yeah,
not
you're
playing
so
this
young in
game
the
when you
NHL.
yeah, you're not playing this game when you're 50 and the kids
And I feel like the
are
Canadians are
40.
so young right now too.
Yeah,
They're so
they are.
young with so many young guys that they're not thinking about having any kids right
Not
now
at
where they're going
all.
to send them to
Not at
school.
all. Not in this city.
No. How many teeth are you missing? And are you missing any teeth?
All of them.
All of them?
All of these teeth are not mine. These are all implants.
So when did you lose the majority of them? While in
Well,
the
I
NHL?
lost
Before?
these
After?
4, and I had implants in them. And then, though not implants, I had posts. And then I got them. I got hit with a puck and chipped them up again. It loosened everything in my bone. And then through my addiction and stuff, I had some issues with it and with my teeth. And, you know, I had teeth left, but I ended up having them all pulled because, you know, putting the implants in, it would have been better than you know, spot implanting. This way, I just did all of them, and I have my molars pulled in the back and in the bottom. It was more my front teeth in the middle here. So instead of just putting those pieces in and keeping those few teeth in the back, the molars, I had them all pulled, and those are all fake. But the ones I got knocked out were the top 4. And for years, I had issues. I kind of ground my bottom teeth down. And yeah, so yeah, all of my teeth are gone. So I got new ones. They actually, yeah, a hell of a lot better than my original teeth. I can tell you that.
You never lost any of them in a fight or anything? No one like
No,
never knocked one out?
no. I actually, wasn't a fight, but after my first year pro, I came home and I went down the beach with some friends, 4 of us, 5 of us. And a friend of mine, Paul McNulty, Nutty McNulty, was drafted by the Houston Oilers. He played football at URI, big kid. We were down the beach and we all put, you know, Band de Soleil on and we're all greased up, Irish guys trying to get a sunburn, basically. And we were drinking, and Nutty was talking about, oh, hockey players, you think you're tough. Football players are tough. I'm like, yeah, football players, all you guys do, you know, you hike the ball, and then all you big linemen, all you do is hump each other's legs. And he's, oh, yeah, sure. So he hit me in the shoulder. So I hit him in his shoulder. He said, all right, let's see who can last the longest. So, boom, I hit him in the shoulder. He hit me. I hit him. He hit me. I don't know. We went about, 15 times, and he was hurting. And the next punch he went to throw, I went like this and braced myself, and he hit me, and it went right off the greasy shoulder I had and got me right here. And he knocked one out altogether, and then cracked like 4 of them. And I spit him out on the beach. And then we showed up at the dentist probably an hour later, and they had to wire my mouth and, try and save the roots of the teeth, the ones that were all cracked across. So that was a nightmare. And I went in, they came to the dentist with me. I went in, I'm in there getting all wired up. I come out, and the four of them were all passed out in the dentist office. Like stunk. It smelled like a bar room. But yeah, I'll never forget that day. That was it. Not in hockey though. Nutty McNulty did it.
Now, have you ever knocked someone's teeth out in a fight?
One kid, I had them in my hand. It was a street fight. I ended up fighting a kid, and his teeth went in my hand here, and actually were embedded in my hand. I had to pull them out, and then I actually got infected by that. A day later, my hand was affected. I ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks. Surgery, everything. Crazy. Human bite, the worst bite you can get. You're better off getting bit by a dog.
Yeah.
If you love your pet like I love my St. Bernard Adele, you'll want to feed them a balanced, biologically appropriate raw diet. The reason I've chosen Formula Raw is because all blends of their food are locally sourced and they consist of exclusively human-grade meat and organs, as well as fruits and vegetables. And all products used are hormone and antibiotic-free. So like I said, if you love your pet like I love Adele, you'll choose Formula Raw. Make sure you go to formularaw.com and use the promo code RawKnux at checkout to receive 10% off your first order. That's RawKnux, RawKnux.
So when was the last time that you beat someone up?
Oh, geez. Long time ago. We'll leave it at that. In retirement, my daughter was at a party, and there was a kid there, ex-girlfriend, was a friend of my daughter. He ended up showing up. He was jealous because she was with another guy. He ended up getting a fight and hit her, his ex-girlfriend. Then my daughter went to jump in. Kid knocked her down. And then I found him later, probably 2 days later. And I kicked his ass when I found him. I found him at a 7-Eleven. And yeah, I kicked his ass all over the place. And I ended up getting arrested and stuff. I had to go to court for it. But he was, I think I might have been like 40 years old. He might have been 23. So, yeah, that was the last one.
So in your younger days, did you go out to Boston bars looking to start fights, or did you just kind of let them come to you?
No, I wasn't looking to start fight, but just, we'd go out and, growing up in the neighborhoods, we hung around on one street corner, kids hung around another one. It was like, who's tougher than who? Stupid shit. But, and then we go out to bars, and there were times you get in beefs over stupid shit. It's always over stupid shit.
Yeah,
Then you try and justify.
Were there a lot of them?
Yeah, a few. Yeah, we had quite a few over the years, but yeah, I'm glad that part of my life is over.
So, can you share any John Kordic stories? We all know he was tough. We all know how tough he was, but what was he like off the ice? Any funny stories?
But not really funny story. I just remember John as a kid come in, and he was on the big weightlifter. Always full of muscles, and and honestly, and knowing John and personally and talking to him, he didn't like doing what he did. He didn't like being a fighter. He didn't like having to do that. And I know his dad didn't either. But he was told at a young age, if you ever want to make it in the NHL, start fighting, because your talent alone isn't going to do it. And that's when he started fighting. He was doing something he really didn't want to do. And I know that for a fact because he shared that with me. And I think he had kind of alluded to that in a few of his articles and talked to other people too. But unfortunate what happened to John. He got lost in retirement, and again, drugs and alcohol. They're certainly not a friend of mine.
So this person said, I saw Anthony Bourdain doing an episode on food in Montreal. Is the restaurant Joe Beef still there, and have you eaten there?
I haven't eaten at Joe Beef, and I think it's still there, but he sold everything, Joe Beef. And I saw the same episode, and it was awesome. I loved Anthony Bourdain too, and I was pissed at him when he killed himself. Sad story. You'd think somebody got it all going on, and then you see that. But when you look back at some of his shows, he always talked about death. He talked about that kind of stuff, and you thought it was just talk, but it was almost like he was crying out or giving everybody a little window into what he was going to do eventually, and he did it. Sad.
What style of coach was Jacques Lemaire?
Well, just, man, he was quiet. He was a great teacher. He wasn't a yeller and a screamer. When he come in between periods, if we weren't playing well, he'd address it, and never really raised his voice. Even when he was really mad, he stayed in control, always in control. Very demanding as far as your work ethic, and he took time with guys to explain, especially in systems that he put in on the ice, whether it was, and again, he's famously known for the trap, and I know the trap. I know how to teach it. I know how to play it, and it took me a while to pick up on it, but I did. And he was a real stickler for down low in your own end and playing, not man on man, but zone defense down low, 3-on-3, because he wanted guys to be able to read the play and react to it, not just be a robot and skate around and say, I got my guy. And I got my guy. And then the puck goes in the net and you're standing there, but I got my guy. Your guy scored. He was very, he was a stickler for that kind of stuff. And yeah, he was really good at getting guys to improve their game. Like every day we did in practice, we always had a puck on our stick. And his big thing with that was, how long do you have the puck on your stick in a game? He asked me once. I said, I don't know, about 30 seconds. He said, 30 seconds? Who do you think? You're Wayne Gretzky? I said, no. And then I thought about it. He said, you might be lucky if you have it on you. You'd be lucky to have it on your stick for 10 seconds in a game. And he said, when you have it on your stick, you got to do something good with it. So this is why I do these drills in practice all the time. This is why you have a puck. A lot of his drills were all puck-oriented. You never just skated like over the boards and back. It was always with a puck, because he wanted, especially guys, like there are some guys that are just so good with the puck, right? And guys like me, not as good. So how do you improve that? You always have a puck with you, and he was really good at improving guys' games on a personal level. He was an awesome coach. I absolutely loved Jacques Lemaire. I love him.
Now, how does he compare to the other coaches that you had in the NHL?
He's the best coach I had. And Claude Rel, for a skills coach and teaching, was another awesome coach. Guys I really like playing for. I love playing for Mike Milbury. Roger Nielsen in New York was awesome to play for. Most of my coaches, a few I didn't care for, but you don't always have to care for or like your coach, but you have to respect them to an extent. But yeah. I'm the type of guy, if you don't respect me, I'm not respecting you.
I think if I asked Tim who his favorite coach was,
yeah.
I think if I asked Tim who his favorite coach was, he would say Mike Keenan.
Oh yeah, Mike, especially in Russia.
Iron Mike. What was it like being a Hab for so many years and then suddenly being a Bruin?
Yeah, well, I guess it was a little easier for me because I went to New York first. I put after Montreal, and then when I got to Boston, I was relieved a little bit to get out of New York because of the injuries I had while I was there. But It was odd. It was weird, but I always wanted to play for the Bruins. I just did, as a kid growing up. My father, when I told him I was thinking of trying to get back there, he said, listen, don't come back here. My father didn't want me to come to Boston. I never wanted to leave Montreal, never wanted to play for another team. And it was never the same when I left Montreal for me. I don't know how guys do it. I mean, I did my job when I left Montreal and I worked my butt off, but I never had the passion, the connection, and the love for the team like I did for the Canadians when I played here. But yeah, it was a little different. But, I had good teammates there, good guys, got an opportunity to play with Ray Bork, Craig Janney, Neely, really good guys. And yeah, it was, I just got there too late. I mean, it was at the end of my career when I got there.
Do you wish you could have played there earlier, or
No, I don't wish that. No regrets as far as that. The only regret I have is not being able to play my entire career in Montreal.
So that's the end of the fan submitted questions, and
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about this. So the other day I was on Twitter and I saw that all of the 2021, 2022 Jack Adams Coach of the Year award candidates were fired less than 365 days after being nominated. So do you see the same future for the 2022, 2023 candidates?
Well, who was it? Monty, the guy in.
So the 2022,
Who are they?
23 candidates are Dave Haxtell, Jim Montgomery, and Lindy Ruff.
I don't see it. I mean, it may. Who knows? I can't see how you fire Lindy Ruff after the season he had. Yeah, they got bumped out of the playoffs, but no. Monty, yeah, his first year in Boston, I mean, it was the best year in hockey history, and then they get bounced out in the first round. I think he'll be fine. And then Haxtell, no, expansion team, I can't see him going anywhere. Look what he's done with that team. It's incredible what he's done. So, yeah, I don't see it happening this time around. It may, but who knows?
So of the 2021-22 candidates that got fired, who are you most surprised about? It was Burnett, Gallant, and Sutter.
Gallant. Yeah. Sutter.
How come?
Could probably see it coming because of the season they had. They didn't make the playoffs. There's some issues there. Plus, his shelf life is always short with an organization. I mean, he stayed in LA for quite a while, but I think you could tell guys they were having a hard time playing for Darryl because he's so demanding, and he makes you earn everything, and he lets you know it if you're not working. So him, not so surprised. Brunette, I think he had an off-ice problem. He got pinched for, I think, driving a golf cart, intoxicated. He got a drunk driving. They let him go. So, surprised? No. And then Gallant. I just listen. I thought Gerard was doing a good job there. I don't know. I like him as a coach. I like him as a person. I know him personally. I was surprised. He's the one I was most surprised, I think.
Now, do you think any teams in the NHL right now could use one of those three guys? Like, I know you're a big Daryl Sutter guy. Like, where would you want to see Daryl Sutter go?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to go anywhere. People, some of the kids today, I mean, they just have a hard time with old school coaches like that. He's not a guy that pampers guys. I don't think Gallant is either, but I don't think he's as difficult to play for probably as Sutter for some guys. So I think the guy that may go somewhere and deserves to be somewhere is Joe Quenneville. He'd be a candidate probably for the New York job and should be, but he has to be reinstated by the league. And I just can't believe that he's still out of the game. He deserves to be in the game. It's a shame he's out of it. But we'll see. I hope he gets back in. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Raw Knuckles Podcast. Please like, follow, and subscribe.